Hare Krishna. Hello, welcome. Thank you for tuning into today's video. Today I wanted to tackle a big subject. It's something that I've wanted to talk about for a while, and most recently, due to current events, I felt really compelled to make a video about this subject. So if you are from India, or if you're engaged in the Indian with the Indian media at all, you may have heard the case of Lavanya, or you may have been seeing around the social media, Justice for Lavanya. There is a case of a young Hindu girl in the 12th grade. She was 17. She was attending a Christian school, a girls' boarding school, and was pressured, bullied, harassed, and threatened by not only the kids, but apparently also the adult staff, the employees of, I believe it's St. Michael's Girls' School. They were pressuring her to convert to Christianity. So apparently Lavanya was forced to clean all of the rooms in the boarding school, the toilets, the bathrooms, the kitchen. She was made to do demeaning things, was called names, and bullied, all in this attempt to peer pressure her into converting. Now, to Western Christians, especially many of the liberalized, secularized, and very watered down Christians of the Western world today, things like that may seem a bit shocking. But for me, it wasn't surprising that, in the least, that something like this were to happen. I'm sure this is just the tip of the iceberg, to be quite honest. Because as someone that grew up with parents that were engaged in missionary work, and I had friends whose parents were missionaries, I grew up in Christian fundamentalist schools and programs and community my whole life, except my last 2 years of high school. So I was deeply, deeply entrenched in the very fundamentalist evangelical, some would say cults or movements. And a lot of those groups are the ones that are sending off missionaries off to India to cause havoc. And they will stop at nothing to convert people. So unfortunately, there's a very ugly side to missionary work and missionaries and converting people that many Christians won't talk about. They refuse to admit that it happens. But I've seen it with my own eyes. I've experienced it. That when someone has this obsessive psychotic belief that the billions of people that inhabit this earth, that they have this eternal soul, and unless they know and accept Jesus Christ as their Savior, that when they die, they are going to be tortured in an unbelievable manner for the entirety of eternity, for the whole of the rest of time, unless they accept Jesus. It creates this obsessive psychosis in people that they will go to convert people or win their soul over for Christ. They will go to any means. They will pay people to convert. They will pay for their medical bills if they convert. They will pay for their education. They will give them scholarships. They will build wells and give them only give them access to the water in the well if they convert. So many things. Of course, you will not hear this from your mainstream Christian churches. You won't hear this from the Western media. But this is the ugly side and the truth of many missionary movements. So I personally felt like I had the responsibility to come out to speak about this, because I have the firsthand experience of growing up in this sort of evangelical environment, probably very similar to the one like Lavanya was forced into, and eventually forced her to take her own life. So that's one of the reasons. And then also there was another reason I really wanted to talk about this. It's very interesting because as someone that came up Christian and then converted to Hinduism, I feel like another reason I had to take responsibility to talk about this was because growing up, my schools actually required, every week we had to bring donation money that would go towards conversion efforts in India. So I remember every day going, or not every day, every Monday, when I would go to elementary school, at the one particular school I went to, we had to bring our India money. And every week, every morning, we would do morning prayers. And then when we would give our money to our teachers, and then the teachers would collect everything. And then that money would go off to missionary and conversion efforts in India. Now, of course, not all of that money is just going towards like paying people to convert and things like that. Some of it is going to good social work and humanitarian work. But the intention behind it is very disturbing and very savior complex-y, and really coming from a very disturbed place, in my opinion. So growing up, so if you are a Hindu, this is a special message and a special warning for you, because it's very important that you understand the theology and the ideology of how these missionaries view you as a Hindu. Because out of all of the religions, out of all of the groups of different people on the world, you know, Jews and Christians and Hindus and Buddhists and atheists and all of these different things, most fundamentalists, fundamentalist Christians like Baptists, Independent Baptists, your Assemblies of God, your Pentecostals, a lot of those groups that I grew up with, Hinduism is the worst of the worst of the worst religion in existence. At least, they don't, a lot of the Christians don't like Jews and Muslims, but at least they're monotheists. At least they only believe in one God. But Hinduism is looked down upon as the dirtiest, most uncivilized, most savage religion that there is. And growing up, like, that was the only message I got about India, and that I got about Indian society and Hinduism and Indian religion and spirituality, is that, it's just these poor, depraved people, and they're so backwards, and they're so uncivilized, and they're so savage, and there's so many of them, there's so many billions of them, and they're all just gonna go to hell unless we, us good Christians, go on missionary efforts to go and save their souls. So you can see it's not that the missionaries particularly have bad intentions per se. They're not specifically looking to go out and destroy Hindu culture per se. They think, I love you. I care about you. I actually care about your well-being. That's why I'm acting in this manner, in this desperate manner, to do anything to save your soul. They don't see it as patronizing or pitying or destructive to indigenous cultures. So, again, with my very, very, very fundamentalist and evangelical upbringing, when we learned about Hinduism in India, especially because they would teach us these things so that when we became missionaries, we would be able to tell Hindus, this is what's wrong with your religion. This is why this is demonic. This is why you're wrong. And this is why you need Jesus. So if you're Hindu, you need to know everything about Hinduism is backwards. It's wrong. And there's a theological backing up, a reasoning for that, that the missionary has, and that a Christian with good, actual Christian theological rooting, they will not be able to support Hinduism or Hindu ideology or Hindu culture or practice, because a lot of what is in the Abrahamic religions is diametrically opposed to the Hindu faith and many of the indigenous earth-based religions. So, let me give you some examples of just everyday simple things for Hindus. So, the fact that we have altars, that we have shrines and altars in our homes, the fact that we have temples, this is all idolatry. I'm just worshiping stones and metal idols, and it's just a way to worship old gods or demons that have actually taken the form of gods to fool people and to trick them. So it's kind of like, this is just all a trick of Satan and demons to take me away from Jesus. So it doesn't matter the symbolism behind it. It doesn't matter the reason. For the Christian, for the Abrahamists, this is all idolatry. You can't have your oil lamps and your candles and your incense. I specifically remember there's a part in the maybe it was in Isaiah, I can't remember. But there was one point they used to hammer in about how burning incense is like an abomination, and it's something that God really doesn't like, even though I guess a part in the Old Testament, like he would require incense in the old temple worship and everything, but for some reason, like burning candles and burning incense like is something that God really, really doesn't like, and it's a form of idolatry and worshiping demons. Hindus, when we prepare bhog, when we prepare food to offer to the deity to receive, and then to receive it as prasadam, that is seen as offering your food to an idol, or offering your food to a false god, or offering your food to a demon, and they are actually contaminating your food. So what we see as holy, what we see as prasad, when we take Krishna prasad or Jagannath Puri prasad, or prasad from whatever mandir or temple, or even your home temple, that is seen as like literally consuming evil. So very strict Christians, like when I was brought up, you were told like you can't eat with Buddhists or you can't eat with Hindus because they offer their food to idols. So that's another thing. The fact that Hindu culture is very tolerant around third gender people, or what we call like LGBT people today. That is another reason that like, oh, they're very loose people, they're very sexually impure and dirty people. So just everything about Hindu culture like is just really demeaned and looked down upon. And again, when I was growing up receiving Christian education in my Christian schools and stuff, and being prepared to be a missionary and all of this, they teach you all of these things, again, so that you can go to places, whether it's India, sometimes they teach you things about Africa or China. They'll teach you things about the indigenous culture, why it's wrong, why it's demonic, and how you can undermine that and destroy that. So I remember, this was several years ago, this was over a decade ago, there was a Hindu organization that would go undercover with like hidden cameras and stuff to Christian missionary organizations and NGOs, or non-government organizations, nonprofit social work organizations, and things like that. So on the outside, many of these Christian organizations say that they're just doing humanitarian work, or they'll say that, we're just here to alleviate the suffering, and whoever comes to us, we offer those services for free, and there's no compulsion in religion, and we don't pressure them into anything. However, many times that is not the case. And going back to this organization, they would send people undercover to these organizations. And I remember the Christian missionaries would go to specifically poor or underserved Hindu communities, and they would offer them different things to convert, whether it be education, usually scholarships for their children to go to Christian school. Sometimes it would be medical care, these sort of things, and they would have to convert. Now, to prove that they actually converted and that they actually left Hinduism behind, and that they weren't just lying to accept all of the things that the missionaries were giving, the missionaries were forcing the Hindus to take pictures of their devis and devatas, or their statues, so like pictures of the gods and goddesses, to throw them on the ground, to stomp on them, to spit on them. Some of the men were forced to pee on them, light them on fire, to or melt down, if you have like a metal murti, a metal deity, to melt them down, or to bury them in the ground. It was just the most despicable thing, to take someone that is poor and obviously in need of something, who has been up until this point willingly practicing their indigenous like ancestral faith for thousands of years. Their family has been Hindu, and now you have these people coming in and dangling like a carrot medical care or education, access to clean water, food, clothing, these sort of things, dangling them like a carrot and making people destroy their own culture. Oh, that, to me, that is that's evil. There's no excuse for that. That is honestly evil. And And when I was a kid and I was forced, whether through school programs or whether my church or whether my family would go out to do like witnessing to people, or like that's what you call when you go to witness to people, you go to tell them about Jesus and you tell them the good news. And the good news is that we're actually all doomed to hell for all of eternity. But if you believe in Jesus Christ, then you'll go to heaven, so you'll be saved. It never really made much sense to me. And even as a young kid, just in my heart and in my spirit, like telling people that their indigenous ways, and whatever ways it was, whether, it was poor people in America, or for a time I lived in Ecuador as well, and we worked with the church there to witness to the indigenous Quechua people, and it just felt so dirty and disgusting in my heart to go and tell people that what I even thought was like, they have these beautiful traditions and these beautiful beliefs and a valid spiritual system, to go and tell them that they are wrong and that they're going to burn in hell for all eternity unless you accept my God. My heart just rejected and rebuked that. Like, it's never been able to sit right with me. And yeah, I've just never been okay with that. I've just always been opposed to that. And if you've seen any of my other videos, you'll know that I'm very opposed to like CRT and critical race theory and stuff like that, because I'm just against forcing things on people. Like, let people have their own perspective. Let people choose their own ideology, philosophy, religion. Stop forcing authoritarianism on people, whether it's leftist politics or crazy evangelical Christianity. Let people be. So to clarify, like, I have no problem if anyone wants to convert or deconvert to or from any religion. It makes no difference to me. However, the only thing that I have a problem with is conversion by inducement or by coercion. Because there's a lot of underhanded, sneaky, just really unethical behavior going on in India that is affecting millions of people, that is affecting what I have come to see as the most amazing, magnificent, beautiful culture that exists on the face of this planet. Like, Hinduism and Sanatana Dharma and traditional Bharatiya Vedic culture is like the most treasured gem that this planet and humanity has. Like, it's the biggest gift to humanity. Like, we don't even know. Like, so much wealth and knowledge and light and wisdom and like enlightenment, illumination, it's all there in the Vedic civilization. Of course, much of it has been lost in modern India today, but that culture, the Sanatana Dharma culture, is just something that is beyond what I can describe amazing, but I have come to love it so much, and I have adopted it myself. And it's interesting growing up, all those years that everyone around me was telling me, the worst of the worst kind of people are the Hindus, and they're polytheists and worship all these different gods and worship cows and just so uncivilized and devolved and all these things. But yet Christianity was the religion that really traumatized me and that really did a number on me. And I can understand where Lavanya was coming from, because when I was going through a lot of my evangelical fundamentalist and missionary run schools, like, I was really suicidal. So trigger warning, heavy topics. But by the time I was in middle school, I think I started, again, trigger warning, cutting myself, and I was suicidal by the time I was 11 or 12, I think. And if you haven't seen any of my other videos, I happen to be a transsexual person. Hello. So growing up as a transgender or transsexual person in that sort of environment was really traumatic for me. And then also having a genuine desire to know what is God and how to serve God. And I still had all of that, even though I knew, like, I was being forced this one message of God. I was like, I don't want this. This doesn't feel good. I feel like I'm being spiritually terrorized. So getting off track here, but anyways, yeah, Christianity for me was pretty traumatizing, and it did a number on me. I've come a long way, and Hinduism really, like, renewed me and like saved me and like healed me and rehabilitated. I feel like I needed to be like rehabilitated from Christianity. Like my consciousness and my psychology was so messed up by so many of the deep just lies that I was fed about reality, and a lot of the what I believe, what they say is spiritual truth, I see is actually like spiritual lies that lead people to, hate themselves and destroy their culture. Again, I came from the very hellfire and brimstone sort of Christianity. So Hinduism really helped me in my life. I would be nothing without the Devis and Devatas. Like, I would not be alive if, like, Krishna, if I didn't have Krishna and I didn't have my deities and their impact and involvement and presence in my life. So we're at 20 minutes now. I feel like I'm just kind of rambling at this point. But I want my point to be to Hindus, please understand that you are a part of an amazing tradition that no one in the West, no one that's complaining about Hinduism or has any complaints or criticism of Hinduism has any understanding of Hinduism. Very, very few Hindus even know what Hinduism is. It is one of the most fantastic civilizational ethos out there. It's not even just a religion. A religion is only one little piece of the pie, one little aspect of what Sanatana Dharma is. It's a whole perspective of seeing the world, self-realization, and God-realization. There's nothing to be ashamed of. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. You are not backwards, or don't let any Christian or Muslim or, Abrahamist shame you for your tradition. Because I left all of that Christianity and that nonsense and the missionary stuff behind. And now I feel like I have to speak up about a lot of the harm that fundamentalists are doing. So hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars go into India specifically to convert people. There's the, is it IBM, IMB, the International Missions Board. I think they gave like something near $200 million for conversion efforts in India. There's groups like the Joshua Project. You have like the Vatican. So you have all of these huge converted efforts. Everybody looks at you, the Hindu, looks at you, the Indian. You're like a juicy steak because you are the last vestige of paganism and polytheism. You are kind of like the last place that a lot of missionaries want to go to convert people. Because most of South America is already Christian. Most of Africa is being taken over by Christians or either Islam. A lot of Asia is now the focus for a lot of missionaries. And a lot of the crazy people, this is the thing, because a lot of Western Christians might think that I'm exaggerating here. The thing is, a lot of Western, again, secularized or liberalized, watered down Christians today in the West, they don't realize what has gone out of fashion here. Like, stuff that was very popular here 10 or 15 years ago, what's not selling anymore, they just outsourced to Africa, they outsourced to India. So a lot of our really crazy evangelicals have left the United States. They've given up on missionary efforts here, and they just focus in India and Africa and parts of South America now. So, we're almost at 25 minutes here, so I should wrap it up. In the end, I guess what I want to say is, again, for any Hindus that are watching, you belong to an awesome tradition. Educate yourself about that tradition and that culture. Be proud. Be courageous. Don't let anybody shame you. And take strength in your Devi or your Devatas. That's really where you really need to root yourself and ground yourself. And if you do that, you don't need to worry about other people trying to convert you. You can be nice. You can be cordial and kind, and have manners when if you encounter Christians or missionaries trying to convert you. But that doesn't mean that you can't be assertive. That doesn't mean that you can't state your boundaries. Or if someone is really pushing you to convert, that you can say, hey man, like, I'm a happy Hindu, I don't want to convert, like, and just say no. Just say no. I know a lot of Hindus have a problem with asserting themselves. That's a really big problem I see with most Hindus, asserting themselves. That's something we all need to learn how to do, especially if you come face to face with a Christian or Muslim missionary that is dead set on converting your soul, winning your soul over to their religion. It's big business, people. So, I hope this was enlightening, interesting, informative to some of you guys. I just had to get this off my chest, and again, I felt like really compelled since I've had all of these experiences with a lot of the uglier sides of missionaryism in Christianity, and I've been seeing in the news lately with Lavanya and so many of these cases, and a lot of cases in southern India. It's getting really dirty, it's getting really underhanded, and it's not an ethical form of conversion or practicing religion. It's not right. So I would urge you again, just take solace in your Devi or your Devata, in your tradition. Know your tradition. Be firm in your tradition and in your culture. And again, you can be cordial with Christians or Muslims. But I would say the trust can only go so far. And don't expect, I don't know, just have your defenses up, I guess. Because there's, again, what we're seeing happening in India right now is really shocking to some people. To a lot of Hindus, it's very shocking. I've seen a lot of people on social media, a lot of Indians and Hindus are very shocked to hear the things that are going on with conversion. But again, as someone that lived in it, that was brought up in it, their methods to convert, like, there's no end to what they will do to try and pressure someone or force someone to convert if it wins their soul over to Christ or their religion, what have you. That's just the ugly truth. So again, that's not all Christians. I have to preface that, but it's enough that hundreds of millions of Christians still believe like that. Hundreds and hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars are being poured into India in very unethical conversion efforts. And culture that is thousands and thousands of years old, indigenous earth-based culture that I think is just amazing. That's something that we should all be appreciating and bringing back and supporting and sustaining. It's something that is under attack and being systematically destroyed. This is something that missionaries have been doing for hundreds of years. So let's not be naive about it. I think that's another thing. Many Hindus are very good-natured, very innocent, and very naive. We need to wait. And the camera died there for a second, but just finishing up here. Yeah, just be a better Hindu. Educate yourself on history, Shastra, and take refuge in your Ishta Devata, and all will be fine. All right? Okay. Thank you for watching, and until we meet again, Hare Krishna. Bye-bye. Take care.